Do you want to know how to teach children responsibility? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting, good communication, and how to build strong family bonds all over the world. And in this video, we're talking about responsibility. In this video, we're going to talk about responsibility, the best ways to teach responsibility, and I'm going to be sharing with you some key strategies that you can use to teach your children how to be more responsible. Who doesn't want their child to be a little bit more responsible? We all do, right? Because children really, truly are in a learning phase. That's the role of life that they are in. They need to start taking more and more responsibility for themselves so that they can launch into this next phase of life called adulthood. If we don't give them the opportunity to take responsibility, if we do everything for them, we end up damaging the futures of our children and possibly even the overall character development of our children, because they can become entitled, selfish, placing blame all of the time, or just becoming lazy in general. Learning responsibility is important. I would say there are some personalities of people that just generally learn responsibility better, but learning responsibility for the most part is a nurtured thing. It can be a little nature, okay, a little personality, but a lot of it is nurture. I will say that. So even though I had some children who were a little bit more by nature kind of like wanting to take the path of least resistance, okay, meaning a little lazier, all right, by nature, all of them still ended up becoming the type of adults that took full responsibility for everything. They're the type that would apologize if they said something or did something that they thought might be offensive to another person. They were the type that would take responsibility for their work and not necessarily make excuses. They will get jobs and look for bettering themselves in the future. They all have launched from the home, starting at age 18 years old. Those are the types of children that I think a lot of people want to make. And so I want to tell you what I did to make it so that my children felt that sense of responsibility. The first thing should not surprise you that much. We're going to talk about these different tips that I have for you, and some of them even skills that you can start using now. But before I do that, do you see that subscribe button? That subscribe button is so that you get more help, so that you can have more tools at your disposal to teach your children responsibility. So click subscribe so that you see more videos. All right, the first thing I'm going to say probably won't surprise you, but it is probably one of the most powerful things. Do mom and dad take responsibility for their actions? Or do mom and dad blame children for things, blame neighbors for things, blame family members for things? Are you an excuse maker and a blamer? If so, own it, meaning say, I do that, and then now fix it, okay? Because if you take responsibility for not just your work, but also your thought processes, your emotional responses. If you think maturely and clearly about things, and you are a self-governed person, then they will learn to take responsibility, which is a self-governed thing to do. What is the name of this channel? It's the Teaching Self-Government channel. What is self-government? Self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. That means you analyze yourself and you make changes as needed. You say, ouch, I didn't do that right. I guess that means that I need to make a new plan for myself. Or, oh, I didn't have a plan for that. No wonder I had a problem. Now I will make a plan for that, and I will not have a problem in the future. That is what a self-governed person does. If a parent is honest, humble, teachable, and self-governed, their children are going to see that example. Their children are going to see, there's not anything wrong with correcting myself and fixing myself. I can take responsibility for myself. I don't need to place blame. Now, I know when many people talk about children taking responsibility, they're thinking chores. They're thinking, okay, can we just get them to make their bed? Or what about clean the floor up in their bedroom and, put all those clothes away, or take their dish over after a meal? Just those types of responsibilities would be amazing. Well, they're all hooked together. Taking responsibility for your behavior in one aspect, like a chore, is just the same as taking responsibility for your behavior in another aspect, which is like your relationships. if you're bonding to somebody, or if you're blaming somebody, or if you're taking the ownership yourself. It's all the same. And there are 4 basic skills that I teach parents so that their children can learn how to take better responsibility for themselves. These are the skills of self-government. These skills are simple, but they're not necessarily easy to get the children to do. It takes some practice, even though the skills actually are very simple. They're plain. They make logical, common sense. So what are those skills? The 4 basic skills of self-government are taught in these children's books. So if you're teaching a child like 12 or under how to govern themselves, how to take responsibility, these are going to be a great resource for you. So this book here, London LaRae says, okay, teaches following instructions. To follow instructions, you look at a person or a situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, you say okay, or you ask to disagree appropriately, you do the task immediately, and then you check back. You know what that sounds like? Taking responsibility. So if you tell a child, you need to do your dishes. I'm giving you an instruction to do your dishes. The child should look at you, keep calm, say, okay, get the dishes done, and then check back with you. Just the act of checking back shows that they are planning on taking responsibility. If a person misses any of those steps, then you would correct them, and they would get the opportunity to do what's taught in this book, which is to accept a consequence. Now that's a whole other aspect of taking responsibility. When I take responsibility for myself, that means I can accept the consequences of my choices. That's a powerful thing. A person who can't accept their consequences will always struggle with taking responsibility for all of their emotions, thoughts, actions. So what about these other 2 books, the green one and the purple one? The green one, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches accepting no answers and criticism. So sometimes life just hands you a no answer. Sometimes there's a disappointment. Something doesn't go your way. Can you take responsibility for how you are going to process it? There are 4 steps to accepting a no answer. There are 6 steps to accepting consequences. And then what about this book here, Page Takes the Stage? That teaches disagreeing appropriately. There are 7 steps for disagreeing appropriately. Can you take responsibility for how you communicate with other people? Or is it just always going to be about your emotions? People who don't know how to disagree appropriately and don't take responsibility for their communications are constantly talking back at somebody else. They are attacking, they are arguing, debating. Instead, what you should be doing is discussing in a respectful way, and this skill teaches you how to do that. Another thing that you do to help a child learn to take responsibility is you give them feedback. So the first thing you do is you teach them the skills that they need, okay? Then after that, you have to give them feedback. Well, the 2 most common types of feedback are praise and correction. Doing an effective praise should identify to the child exactly what they did well, so that they want to do it again in the future. It should feel good and feel connective. A very effective correction should actually not only discuss what happened and why it wasn't good, but what should have happened. It should give the child an opportunity to earn some sort of a negative consequence. In this book, Parenting a House United, I talk about why I use extra chores a lot. There is a reason for that. Super great for character development and other things. But anyway, so you give them an opportunity to earn an extra chore. Then you do some practices for how to do whatever it was the right way. This type of correction is actually more instructive for the child than just punishing them and trying to make them feel bad. So all corrections and praises should all be calm. They should be done with absolute calmness. This is something that teaches the child to take responsibility. When the parent is taking responsibility for themselves when they're doing the teaching, by being calm, using the skills they told their children they would use, and the child uses their skills at the appropriate time as well, everybody is not only being predictable, which lowers anxiety, but we're all taking responsibility for ourselves, which shows deep respect in the family. Responsibility is definitely related to respect, and I think that's why a lot of people worry about their child not taking responsibility for anything because they recognize that that child is only thinking of themselves and not respecting the other people around them. Another thing that is taught in this book, Parenting House United, is how to have a really great meeting with your child so that they take ownership over the plans that they're making for their own behaviors and relationships. These meetings, especially family meetings and individual mentor meetings, which are talked about in this book, are vital to helping a child recognize that it's up to them to take steps to improve their situation with relationships and with all of their behaviors. These journals are great resources for helping you with the meetings with your family, with your children. Each child can have their own mentor journal where they have mentor meetings with you and make plans, goals, commitments, things that will really empower them to move forward and to take more of that responsibility. They can come up with positive consequences that are motivating for them and check up on their progress. Now, this meeting journal is all for the family meetings. When you have family meetings, the whole family meets together to discuss things that are going on with the family. There is a format that makes a family meeting successful and united. In fact, my children loved both of these meetings, especially this one, but this one too, because they knew they weren't going to be times of lecture, they weren't going to be negative, they were going to be things that would bring us together and help them feel empowered to move forward. One of the things with taking responsibility is oftentimes we present the concept in such a negative way. Many parents get frustrated with their children, and so then they start to harp on their children, to attack their children verbally because of how they feel inside. They feel not respected. So then they start to talk about how the child should take responsibility, and it comes across as very negative, sometimes even lecturing, and the child feels like that the parent isn't understanding them at that moment. So what you really need to do is you need to make sure that you talk about things in a proactive, light, upbeat kind of a way. The meetings are going to help you, the pre-teaching is going to help you, the praising is going to help you, and even corrections can help you because you should feel closer to your child during and after a correction than you even did before. If you don't, be sure to get the help you need. If you've enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure that you will enjoy my next video, which goes into even more detail about some of these skills and principles that I have talked about. The video is called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.